Hi, PerspectaWeather.com meteorologist Paul Dorian here on Friday, December 13th. Well, we have two storms to deal with over the next several days in the Mid-Atlantic region and the Northeast U.S. First storm will be predominantly a rain storm. However, there can be some icing in some spots, especially in and around the D.C. metro region over the next few hours, even into south central and southeastern Pennsylvania over the next several hours. But ultimately, enough milder air comes in aloft that it becomes a plain rain event from late today through tonight and through much of the day on Saturday. And that rain certainly can fall down heavily at times in the I-95 corridor and all the way to the coast overnight tonight into the day on Saturday. High pressure takes over for Sunday. It'll be a windy and a chilly day. And then another storm will come out of the Mississippi Valley and head towards the eastern part of the nation. Enough cold air will be in place to start the day on Monday that there could be a period of snow or ice at the onset, especially north of the Mason-Dixon line, where there could even be some accumulations. Maybe even a wintry mix at the start in the D.C. metro region. We're still a few days away from that. Ultimately, that becomes a plain rain event, it looks like, for Monday night and Tuesday. But again, for a several-hour period on Monday going into Monday evening, we'll have to watch for the possibility of some snow or ice in the Mid-Atlantic region. Well, before we get to the couple of storms that we have to deal with over the next couple of days, a couple of space events that I'd like to briefly talk about here. First of all, the sun. Very interesting what's going on with respect to the current solar minimum that we are experiencing right now. The sun continues to be blank. No visible sunspots, and this is the 30th day in a row. And for the year of 2019, we've had 267 spotless days. Only a couple more days to go before kind of a historic milestone will be reached. Once we hit the 269 mark, only a couple more days required for that, that'll surpass the number of spotless days in the last solar minimum of 2008. And we would have to go all the way back to 1913 to find a year that had a similar number of spotless days. So quite amazing what's going on with respect to this current deep solar minimum. Also, another space event, Geminid meteor shower peaks tonight. Certainly does not look like there'll be any kind of favorable viewing conditions in the Mid-Atlantic or the Northeast U.S., but if you're part of the country that will have some clear skies later on tonight, the Geminid meteor shower will peak. Best time to look would be late in the evening through the after midnight hours into the wee hours of the morning. Now, for more information on both of those stories, the deep solar minimum about to reach kind of a historic milestone and the Geminid meteor shower, go to the homepage of PerspectaWeather.com. Just click on Space Weather, and both of those stories will show up here. There's the deep solar minimum story, and then right below that there'll be a link to the Geminid meteor shower story. If you want more information on either one of those space topics, just go to the PerspectaWeather.com website. Well, let's now get back to the local weather situation, and we'll take a look at these upcoming storms. One about to impact the I-95 corridor region. In fact, this is the latest radar loop, and some rain already closing in on the Washington, D.C. metro region. Their temperatures not too far from freezing, especially in the western and northern suburbs. So watch out for potential of some icing over the next couple of hours. Eventually enough milder air comes in for just plain rain in and around the D.C. metro region, and all of this arrives in the Philadelphia, New York City later in the afternoon going into the early evening, and then really rains quite hard overnight tonight into the day on Saturday. So a lot of moisture starting to push north and east, and again, watch out for pockets of freezing rain, maybe even some ice pellets over the next few hours in D.C. and also in south central and southeastern Pennsylvania over the next few hours. Well, let's take a look at last night's 6Z model run of the operational GFS, and we'll look at 500 millibar height anomalies to kind of focus in on these two storms. First of all, this morning, deep upper level low starting to intensify over the south central U.S. And watch the movement of that, and notice also kind of takes on a negative tilt to the orientation of the trough axis, running from northwest to southeast. That will allow for a lot of upward motion over the eastern seaboard, and this becomes quite a strong storm as it moves northward along the eastern seaboard. And again, a soaking rain event coming to D.C., Philadelphia, New York City, especially in the overnight hours and through much of the day on Saturday. Will not be a quick mover. It's already beginning near the D.C. metro region, and we could be talking about rain showers going into Saturday evening. So kind of a long event here, and that pushes on by later Saturday night. The winds will pick up out of the northwest. Sunday promises to be a partly sunny, cold, windy day. High temperatures in the 40s. And then we have the next system to watch out for. And here we go into Monday morning. Really a couple of waves of interest. One cutting across the middle part of the nation, and a northern stream wave dropping southeastward from south central Canada. And the interaction of these two will help to dictate exact storm track that ends up occurring in the Monday-Tuesday time frame. Right now it looks like the surface low pressure system will cut just to the north and west of the I-95 corridor region, likely resulting in a changeover to plain rain. How much frozen precipitation occurs at the onset, still some questions about that, but certainly can have some snow, especially north of the Mason-Dixon line, and maybe some snow or ice all the way down to the D.C. metro region at the onset before the likely changeover. Here we go into Monday night and finally Tuesday morning. Notice a northern system kind of dominates the scene here, and that will help to steer the surface low a little bit to the north and west of the I-95 corridor, allowing for milder air to come in for mainly plain rain on Monday night and Tuesday. We'll monitor that situation over the next few days. Well, let's now take a look at the surface forecast maps from the 6Z operational GFS model. Some icing occurring right now across southwestern Virginia, the western part of Virginia, and again, some precipitation just now moving into the D.C. metro region. Still not far from freezing, so watch out for some pockets of freezing rain. And then as we move forward in the day, enough milder air moves in aloft for generally just a plain rain event from later today into tonight. And as this storm system intensifies along the East Coast, there certainly can be some heavy rainfall, especially from I-95 east to the coast and going throughout New England as well overnight tonight into the day on Saturday. And unfortunately, it will be kind of a slow mover, and kind of a wraparound moisture extends to precipitation through the afternoon in much of the D.C., Philadelphia, New York City corridor, all the way into the evening hour on Saturday. There could be some rain showers in that D.C. to New York corridor here, and certainly throughout the day in New England. It looks like a rain event. Then later tomorrow night, the winds will shift to the northwest, pick up in intensity, and there'll be some snow on the backside of this low pressure system, but mainly confined to western sections of the northeastern part of the nation. Again, strong northwest winds overnight Saturday night going into the day on Sunday. Sunday looks like basically a windy and cold day with partial sunshine, high temperatures in the 40s. And then focus will turn to this next storm system, and what will happen during the late night hours on Sunday going into Monday morning. Looks like there'll be a stream of precipitation, basically a narrow zone extending from the west to the east, and exactly where that moves into the eastern part of the nation will be quite important, because the faster this precipitation arrives on Monday, the colder it will be, and the increased likelihood for something frozen. Again, it's just going to be a narrow strip of precipitation here. It looks like it may be cold enough for some snow north of the Mason-Dixon line at the onset of this early week event, early next week event. Maybe some ice, maybe even some snow down in the D.C. metro region at the onset. But then eventually it looks like enough milder air will slide into the I-95 corridor region as the surface low moves just to the west of the I-95 corridor region for plain rain, a changeover to plain rain likely Monday night going into the day on Tuesday. Still a few days away, and frankly what happens with this initial storm may have an impact to the whole upper air pattern for this second storm. So we'll have a better picture on maybe by later in the weekend, Saturday night or Sunday, with respect to the Monday, Tuesday event. That eventually slides on by here, and by the middle of next week we have another cold air mass moving into the mid-Atlantic region. So a couple of storm systems to deal with over the next several days in the mid-Atlantic and the northeast U.S. First one, a Friday into Saturday event, and the second one, a Monday into Tuesday event. So that's it for now. For PerspectaWeather.com, I'm meteorologist Paul Dorian.